జేఈఈ మెయిన్స్ 2020 మొదటి ప్రయత్నంలోనే 45 మంది విద్యార్థులకు గాను 36 మంది విద్యార్థులు ఐఐటి అడ్వాన్స్డ్ కి అర్హత సాధించి అత్యద్భుతమైన ప్రతిభను సామాన్యమైన విద్యార్థుల ద్వారా నిరూపించిన ఏకైక విద్యా సంస్థ కృష్ణమూర్తి ఐఐటి అండ్ నీట్ అకాడమీ నెల్లూరు.
Good morning, children. Yesterday we have completed what are the digestive food materials, how they have digested, and how the absorption occurs in the small intestine. And also even I have completed about how the fats has digested into fatty acids and glycerol and how the absorption takes place. Just I will explain how the absorption of fatty acids takes place in the form of a flow chart. So if you see the fatty acids, already we know that fatty acids are insoluble in water. Fatty acids are insoluble in water. So because of insoluble in water, directly the fatty acids will not enter to the blood capillaries near the villi or in the small intestine. So this fatty acids, absorption of fatty acids will take place in the lacteal. Lacteals, or we can call as a lymph capillaries. So fatty acids directly will not enter into the lymph capillaries because of large molecules. Fatty acids which are digested are in the form of large molecules. So these large molecules directly will not enter into the lymph capillaries. So they have to be converted to small fat globules. So that conversion of large molecules are fatty acids into small molecule is called micelles. Is called a micelles. So this micelles are the small molecules, are small fat globules. So micelles enters directly into the lacteals or into the lymph capillaries. So while these micelles are entering directly in the form of micelles, they will not enter into the lacteals. So they enter in the form of, they enter after they are coated with the protein. The fat molecules are coated with the protein. Such kind of fat molecules are called protein fat globules. Protein fat globules. So fatty acids are converted to small molecules, small fat globules. That small fat globules we are calling as micelles. These micelles are coated with proteins. So that micelles or fat molecules we are calling as protein fat globules. Or we can call these protein fat molecules as chylomicrons. As a chylomicrons. So this chylomicrons enters into the lacteals. Enters into the lacteals. Lacteals, or we can call as lymph capillaries. Lacteals or lymph capillaries. So chylomicrons enters to the lacteals by a process called exocytosis. By a process called exocytosis. Very important, children. So by a process called exocytosis. Which is the process this chylomicrons enters into the lacteals? In which part? In the intestinal mucosa, that is in the intestinal lining. In the intestinal lining, which are present? Villi are present. Villi, around the villi, a network of blood capillaries or lymph capillaries are formed, which is surrounding around the villi. So carbohydrates, that is which is digested to glucose as well as amino acids and other substances, everything enters to the blood capillaries except the fatty acids and glycerol. So this fatty acids and glycerol enters into the lacteals through by exocytosis. So these lacteals carry the chylomicron or the fat globules into the chest portion. So in the chest portion, that is in the near the thoracic duct, these chylomicrons are diffused into or dissolved into the blood capillaries through subclavian vein. Subclavian vein. So in near which duct? Near the thoracic duct. Near the thoracic duct, the lacteals pushes or dissolves the fat globules or chylomicrons into the left subclavial vein. Left subclavial vein in the near the thoracic duct. So this left subclavial vein, that is nothing but the blood capillary. Vein, though it is a deoxygenated, also it is a blood capillary. So this subclavial vein, the lacteus, that is the chylomicrons, converts again into fatty acids and glycerol. So in the subclavial vein, through subclavial vein, it enters to blood capillaries. Enters to blood capillaries. So in the blood capillaries, what happens in the blood capillaries? So in the blood capillaries, the chylomicrons are again converted or digested to fatty acids. Digested to fatty acids and glycerol. So which again converts this chylomicrons to fatty acids and glycerol is a protein called lipoprotein lipase. Lipoprotein lipase is the enzyme which converts the fat globules present in the blood capillaries to fatty acids and glycerol. So this fatty acid and glycerol which is formed in the blood capillaries after the action of an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, it is stored in the adipose tissues. So this fatty acid is stored in the adipose tissues. Is stored in the adipose tissue. That is, energy is stored in the fat in the form of fat in which tissue? In adipose tissue. And also it stores the liver, the fatty acids will be stored in the liver in the form of cholesterol. In the form of cholesterol. So in this way, the absorption of fatty acid takes place. Now we will see how this absorption occurs in different parts of the organ, different parts of the body in alimentary canal. Otherwise, we'll see what are the substances which are absorbed in other parts of the alimentary canal. Here what we said, most of the nutrients are digested in the small intestine and also absorption of all the nutrients occurs in the small intestine. But there are some other parts in the alimentary canal which absorb some substances. So we will see what are the substances which are absorbed in some other parts of the alimentary canal. Suppose mouth, the first part where food enters is mouth. So in the mouth, if the food contains any drugs, if the food contains any drugs, are the persons those who are consuming or taking drugs, so these drugs are absorbed in the mouth itself. So which part of the mouth absorbs the drugs? That is the lower part of the tongue. Lower part of the tongue absorbs the drugs which are present in the food particles. Which are present in the food particles. The next part is stomach. Even stomach also absorbs some kind of substances. What are the substances stomach absorbs is the water which is present in the food particle, the water and also alcohol. Alcohol and water is absorbed in the stomach. is absorbed in the stomach. And already we know about the intestine, that is the small intestine. So small intestine, what are the substances absorbed in the small intestine? The substances absorbed in the small intestine is glucose, glucose. Already we have seen in the process of digestion, that is glucose, then galactose, glucose, galactose, fructose, fructose, amino acids, amino acids, amino acids, and fatty acids and glycerol, fatty acids. So these are the substances which are absorbed in the small intestine. The last one is large intestine. So if you see the large intestine, even some of the substances are absorbed in large intestine. What are the substances which are absorbed in large intestine is water which is present in the undigested food particle and vitamins and minerals, vitamins and minerals which are present in the excretory matter or which are present in undigested food particles. These are the things which are reabsorbed in the large intestine. So in this way, not only in the small intestine, but in some other parts of the alimentary canal also, this absorption takes place. Now we will see how this assimilation of food occurs. So the next process of digestion is assimilation. Next one is assimilation. So what is meant by assimilation? So in assimilation, what happens is, already we have seen the digested food material is absorbed in the small intestine. What are the end products or what are the digested food materials? Glucose, fructose, galactose, amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol. So these digested food materials, after absorbing by the intestinal epithelium of small intestine, enters to the blood capillaries. So this blood capillaries carries the digested food materials, carry the digested food materials, food materials into the tissues, into the tissues. So what happens in the tissues? The digested food material which enters into the tissues, that digested food material forms as a complement substance, complement forms as a complement substance which is equal to the complement substance which is equal to the living protoplasm of the tissue, living protoplasm, living protoplasm of the tissue or living protoplasm of the cell. That is the digested food after entering to the blood capillaries. This blood capillaries carries the digested food material near to the tissues. So after entering this digested food material in the tissue, that digested food material forms as a complement substance equal to the living protoplasm. So the digested food material enters to the living protoplasm of the cell. Now the cell, what activity occurs? Metabolic activities occurs in the cell, and this energy, so the digested food material is used for the energy purpose, energy purpose, for the growth, for the growth and repair of the tissues, repair of tissues. So in this way, the digested food material which enters to the tissues and cells is used in such a way. So that kind of process is called assimilation. Assimilation means The digested food material which is used by the cell for the energy purpose, for the growth and repair of tissue, that process is called assimilation. The next one is defecation. The next process of digestion is defecation. So what is defecation? Defecation is a removal of unwanted and undigested food material from the alimentary canal or from the gut is called defecation. So defecation is a removal of unwanted substances, unwanted substances, unwanted substances and unabsorbed substances. Unwanted substances or unabsorbed substances. Or we can write undigested substances also we can write. Undigested substances or unwanted substances which are undigested and unabsorbed substances which are present in the food material, that removing such kind of substances is called defecation. Defecation means sending out. So in which place this defecation occur? Defecation occur in large intestine. Defecation occurs in large intestine. So defecation occurs in large intestine. In large intestine, for the defecation, two process occurs. Two process occurs in large intestine. What are the two process which occurs in large intestine is, one is absorption and another process is secretion. Absorption and secretion. So large intestine for the defecation of excretory waste material, large intestine, it occurs in the large intestine. In large intestine, two processes occurs. One is absorption, another one is secretion. So absorption is in this undigested food materials, the water, minerals and vitamins which are present in the undigested food material or excretory substances will be absorbed by the mucosa, absorbed by the epithelial layer of large intestine. So absorption is water, vitamins, water, vitamins and minerals which are present in the undigested food material. The undigested food material that are absorbed by the epithelial layer of large intestine is called absorption. That is one of the process which occurs in large intestine. Another process is secretion. So the large intestine which consists of mucus, this mucus cells secretes mucus which lubricates the excretory waste material, and also excretory waste material and holds the feces. So that is the work done by the mucus. So secretion is secreting mucus from mucus cells present in the large intestine. Secretion is secreting mucus from the mucus present in the large intestine. That is mucus cells present in the large intestine. The mucus which is secreted by the large intestine lubricates the excretory waste materials and also holds the feces in a proper way. Holds the feces in a proper way means that feces are folded in a masses. So that is also done by the mucus which is secreted by the mucus cells in the large intestine. So these are the two processes which occurs in large intestine. Once the feces forms in the large intestine, These feces enters to the rectum. The feces which are formed in the large intestine moves to the rectum. In the rectum, these feces are stored temporarily. These are stored temporarily in the rectum. After the feces storing temporarily in the rectum, once the rectum is filled with feces,
జేఈఈ మెయిన్స్ 2020 మొదటి ప్రయత్నంలోనే 45 మంది విద్యార్థులకు గాను 36 మంది విద్యార్థులు ఐఐటి అడ్వాన్స్డ్ కి అర్హత సాధించి అత్యద్భుతమైన ప్రతిభను సామాన్యమైన విద్యార్థుల ద్వారా నిరూపించిన ఏకైక విద్యా సంస్థ
కృష్ణమూర్తి ఐఐటి అండ్ నీట్ అకాడమీ నెల్లూరు.
after solidifying the feces in the rectum, now the stimulation occurs. What kind of stimulation occurs in the rectum? Nerve stimulus occurs in the rectum, which makes to urge the excretory material, which makes urge the feces, which makes to urge the feces. So once the nerve stimulus occurs, now we feel to release this excretory waste materials. So that reflex is under the control of nervous system. So that is voluntary in action. Voluntary in action. Voluntary in action. Now, removing of such kind of waste material we will call as a defecation. So, in this way, the process of digestion, assimilation, and defecation, that is removing the waste materials from the large intestine, takes place in the by removing the waste materials. Now we will see what are the gastric hormones present in the intestinal tract. Next one is gastrointestinal hormones. Gastrointestinal hormones. Gastrointestinal hormones. Already we know the hormones which are of endocrine hormones, which coordinates for the functions of the body. But here we are seeing gastrointestinal hormones. So what are gastrointestinal hormones? Gastrointestinal hormones are the hormones which makes the intestinal system or which makes the alimentary canal or for the process of digestion of food materials to function in a proper way. Or we can say one word, which coordinates the function of alimentary canal for the digestion of food materials. So this gastrointestinal functions are under the control of the gastrointestinal functions are under the control of neural system and hormones. Neural system and hormones. The gastrointestinal functions or coordination of these functions are under the control of neural system and hormones. So how these things are in coordination? So how these things are in coordination means, suppose when we see the food shop, when we see the smell and taste of a food, when we see the smell and taste of a food, in the oral cavity, what is released? Saliva is released in the oral cavity. Saliva is released in the oral cavity. So how saliva is released in the oral cavity when we see the aromatic food or when we see the taste and smell of the food. So here, this releasing the saliva in the oral cavity is under the control of nervous system. That is, which nerves stimulate for the releasing of saliva in the oral cavity is the central nervous system of this seventh cranial nerves and ninth cranial nerves. Seventh and ninth cranial nerves stimulates the saliva to produce in the oral cavity by seeing the aromatic food or when we taste the smell or when we taste the smell of the food. When we taste or smell the food, the stimulus occurs in the nervous system, which makes to release the saliva in the oral cavity. So, which nerves are stimulating the? There is a seventh and ninth cranial nerves of central nervous system. So, in this way, not only the saliva production which is present in the oral cavity, but there are some other hormones which are regulating. Suppose, now what we are saying, mastication or movements of alimentary canal are happening for the churning of food materials. Suppose this movement of alimentary canal, even the movement of alimentary canal for churning the food materials also is under the control of nervous system. So for all these coordinations which has to be released, this hormones and the nervous system only helps for the coordination of stimulating the food material, stimulation of the nerves. That is when we see the aromatic food material, then movement of alimentary canal for the churning of the food material. Another one is absorption of food materials in the small intestine. These all things for the well-being or for the digestion of the food materials, movement for production of these enzymes, for the production of the digestive juices, for all these things, this coordination of these systems is under the control of nervous system and hormones. Which is that hormone which controls this alimentary canal to function in a smooth way is there are some local hormones which are produced inside the alimentary canal. So there are some local hormones which are produced in the alimentary canal. That hormones are called gastric hormones. That hormones are called gastric hormones. What are gastric hormones? Gastric hormones are the hormones which are produced in the alimentary canal. That hormones are called local hormones. What is the use of gastric hormones is this gastric hormones and nervous system which is having a connection with the alimentary canal helps for the coordination of alimentary canal for the digestion process as well as for the movement of the alimentary canal. Now we will see what are the gastric hormones which are present in the digestive system. So the first gastric hormone is gastrin. Gastrin is the first hormone which is present. So gastrin, where is gastrin? Gastrin is present in the lining of epithelium, present in the lining of epithelium in the stomach. Lining of epithelium in the stomach. Gastrin is present in the epithelial lining of the stomach. So this releases a hormone called gastrin, or the stomach which is lined with epithelial layer releases a hormone called gastrin. The main function of gastrin is it secretes hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. So gastrin secretes hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. Gastrin is present in the epithelium of the stomach. So the next hormone, important children, next hormone is enterogastrone. Enterogastrone is the another hormone. So enterogastrone is present in the epithelium of duodenum. Epithelium of duodenum. That is, duodenum is lined with epithelium layer. So this epithelium layer secretes a hormone called enterogastrone, or other name for enterogastrone is gastric inhibitory peptide, GIP, that is a gastric inhibitory peptide. The other name for enterogastrone is gastric inhibitory peptide. So, the epithelium lining of duodenum secretes a hormone called enterogastrone. The main function of enterogastrone is it inhibits inhibits the secretion of gastric secretion and gastric motility. Gastric motility. So which inhibits the gastric secretion, gastric motility? Enterogastrone hormone, which is released from the duodenal epithelium of duodenum, inhibits the functions of gastric secretion and gastric motility. And the next hormone is called secretin. The next hormone, gastric hormone, is called secretin. Important children, secretin. So secretin is present in the duodenum. Secretin is present in a duodenum. So duodenum, that is in which layer? Epithelial layer is present in the epithelial layer. So secretin is a hormone which is secreted from the epithelial layer of duodenum. The main function of secretin. What is the main function of secretin? Secretin secretes or helps the pancreatic juice to release water and bicarbonates. Water and bicarbonates which are released from the pancreatic juice, is released because of the hormone called secretin. So secretin is present in the epithelial layer of duodenum. So this secretin initiates it makes the pancreatic juice to secrete or release water and bicarbonates. And another gastric hormone is called choleocytokinin. Choleocytokinin is another gastric hormone. Choleocytokinin is present in the epithelial mucosa of duodenum. Epithelial mucosa of duodenum. Epithelial mucosa of duodenum. So choleocytokinin is present in the epithelial mucosa of duodenum, which initiates. So the main function of choleocytokinin is it makes the pancreatic enzymes to release into the duodenum. It helps the pancreatic juice as well as bile secretion. So which stimulates the secretion of pancreatic juice and bile secretion? Choleocytokinin. Where is choleocytokinin? Choleocytokinin is, many times they have asked this bit also. Choleocytokinin is present in the epithelial mucosa of duodenum, which stimulates the secretion of pancreatic juice and bile secretions. And another one is another gastric enzyme is enterokinin. Another one is enterokinin. Enterokinin is another gastric hormone which is present in the duodenum. So this helps for the secretion of succus entericus. Succus entericus is the intestinal enzyme, intestinal juice, which is secreted in the small intestine. So enterocrinin is an hormone which is present in the duodenum, that is in the walls of the duodenum or in the epithelial walls of duodenum, which initiates or helps for the secretion of succus entericus. Another hormone is villicrinin. Another hormone is villicrinin. So villicrinin is a hormone which is present in the villi-like structure in the small intestine. Villicrinin is secreted from the intestinal villi. Villicrinin is secreted in the intestinal villi, which helps the villi to increase the absorption of food materials. Increase the absorption of increase the absorption of food materials. Food materials means digested food materials. Digested food materials. So these are the gastrointestinal hormones which are released inside the gastric, that is inside the intestine, which helps for the coordination and movement of the intestine for a proper functioning or for the digestion of the food materials. So once again, see children, these gastrointestinal hormones are under the control of gastric intestinal tract is under the control of neural and hormone, which coordinates the alimentary canal to function in a proper way. So there are some local hormones are called gastric hormones, which is released inside the alimentary canal itself, which helps for the digestion of or smooth running of alimentary canal. So what are that hormones is gastrin. Gastrin is present in the epithelium of the stomach, which helps for the secretion of hydrochloric acid and pepsinogen. Another one is enterogastrone. Enterogastrone is present in the epithelium of the duodenum, which stimulates or inhibits gastric secretion and gastric motility. Another hormone is called secretin. Secretin is secreted from the epithelium of the duodenum, which helps the water and bicarbonates to secrete from the pancreatic juice. Another one is choleocytokinin. Choleocytokinin is present in the mucosal layer of the epithelium of the duodenum, which helps the bile juice and pancreatic juice to secrete. Another one is called enterocrinin. Enterocrinin is present in the duodenum of the epithelium, which helps for the enterokinase or succus entericus to secrete in the small intestine. Villicrinin. Villicrinin is the hormone which is released in the villi-like structure in the intestinal mucosa cells, that is which helps for the increase the absorption of digested food materials. These are the local hormones and the gastric hormones which helps for the coordination of the alimentary canal. Now we will see what are the disorders of digestive system. So how different systems are having some kind of disorders. Even in the intestine, that is in the alimentary canal also, some kind of disorders occurs by viruses, bacteria and some kind of parasites. Now we will see what are the disorders of a digestive system. Disorders of digestive system. There are many disorders of digestive system. So before going to the disorders, we will see all the food materials is digested. The food material, whatever we have consumed, that is the carbohydrates or fatty acids or proteins, fats, fish and all, macronutrients, everything has digested in the digestive system. But already we have seen, and some of these things also minor, that is microvitamins also, micronutrients are also there. Macronutrients are digested in the digestive system with the help of alimentary canal. But micronutrients are also there. So now we will see about micronutrients as well as what are the disorders of digestive system. So before going here, if you see macronutrients, what are macronutrients? Carbohydrates, proteins and fats are the macronutrients. If you see how much energy, amount of energy is liberated after the food is digested. Suppose glucose or carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are digested to carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are digested too. What is the end product, children? Glucose is the end products. And another one is what? Macronutrient, protein. Proteins are the other macronutrient. Proteins are digested into amino acids. Amino acids. Another one is fats. Fats are digested to fatty acids. Fatty acids. Now,
జేఈఈ మెయిన్స్ 2020 మొదటి ప్రయత్నంలోనే 45 మంది విద్యార్థులకు గాను 36 మంది విద్యార్థులు ఐఐటి అడ్వాన్స్డ్ కి అర్హత సాధించి అత్యద్భుతమైన ప్రతిభను సామాన్యమైన విద్యార్థుల ద్వారా నిరూపించిన ఏకైక విద్యా సంస్థ
కృష్ణమూర్తి ఐఐటి అండ్ నీట్ అకాడమీ నెల్లూరు.
these substances, how much amount of energy is liberated is, suppose if you take carbohydrates and proteins, these glucose and amino acid has to be oxidized. Unless the glucose or amino acid is oxidized, that is oxidation process occurs, then only energy will be liberated. Suppose if you take 1 gram of, when 1 gram of carbohydrates or proteins is oxidized, so for these both, same amount of energy is liberated. How much amount of energy is liberated means 4 kilocalories of energy is liberated. 4 kilocalories of energy is liberated. But whereas that is carbohydrates and proteins, both mostly for both carbohydrates and proteins, the amount of energy liberating per gram is same. But already while we are speaking about fat, we have said more amount of energy is present in the fat, so that only excess amount of energy which is present in the fat is reserved in the form of fatty acids in adipose tissue. While saying about the process of digestion, we have spoke that. So like this, so now how much amount of energy is liberated when fats are oxidized? So when 1 gram of fat is oxidized, that is when 1 gram of fats are oxidized, nearly 9 kilocalories of energy is liberated. 9 kilocalories of energy is liberated. So which oxidation of which substance more energy is liberated? If fats are oxidized, more amount of energy is liberated. So sometimes they will ask these things in the way of problems, children. That is in NEET as well as in MCET. They will give this in the problem. Suppose they will give when 10 gram, a person who is playing has consumed 10 grams of 10 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams of protein. How much kilocalories of energy he has spent? So you have to calculate, that is 1 grams, that is 10 grams of carbohydrates is into 4. That is how much amount of energy is liberated? 40 kilograms of energy is liberated. 40 kilograms in plus how much proteins? 5 grams of proteins is nothing but 5 fours. That is 20. That is 4 is 4 means here we can say 20. So if we add these carbohydrates and proteins, how much an amount of energy is consumed by the person, we can calculate. So in that way, even they will give sometimes the problems also. And if they ask fats, that is 1 gram, 9 kilo, that is 9 kilocalories. That is 1000 grams. How much? Into 9000 calories. So that in that way we should calculate when they are giving in the form of a problematic way. If they give in the as a which. Now we will see what are the disorders of digestion. So if you see the disorders of digestion, the disorders of digestive system occurs because of some viruses, bacteria. So because of some bacteria or viruses, some abnormalities occur in the digestive system. And also not only with the help because of viruses and bacteria, because of some worms, that is tapeworms, hookworm, tapeworms, roundworms, because of tapeworm, roundworms, hookworms. These are the parasites. These are the parasites which leads to abnormalities in the digestive system. So what are the abnormalities in the digestive system is, the first one we can say as jaundice. The first abnormal is jaundice. What is jaundice? While saying about the liver, I have said about jaundice. The cells present in the liver are called hepatocytes. Cells present in the liver are called hepatocytes. If the cells hepatocytes gets damaged and the production of bile, hepatocytes secretes bile juice, secretes a bile juice. This bile juice from the hepatocytes through bile duct enters to the gallbladder. Suppose if the bile duct gets blocked or hepatic duct gets blocked also, the bile juice enters to the food particle. Bile juice or bile pigment. Bile pigment or bile juice, instead of coming out along with the excretory food materials, in some cases, that is when anorexia occurs. Anorexia also we can say, that is anorexia. Anorexia is nothing but a damage of a liver cells. So when anorexia occurs, instead of bile juice coming out with the undigested food material, it enters along with the blood circulation. So during that time, what are the symptoms we can say? The white part of the eye, becomes yellow, becomes yellow. So that symptom we will call as jaundice. So this jaundice are one of the abnormality which occurs because of the digestive system. And the second one is, the first one is jaundice. Second one is vomiting. Second one is vomiting. So the second abnormality is vomiting. Vomiting is nothing but the content which is present in the stomach comes out through the mouth. That is content from stomach comes out through mouth. The content present in the stomach comes out through mouth is called vomiting. So the center for vomiting is present in the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. So the center for vomiting, or we can say vomiting sensational center is present in medulla oblongata. Next abnormality which occurs is diarrhea. The next one is diarrhea. So diarrhea is continuous food material, or we can say the defecation, continuous defecation of the undigested food particles along with water. Undigested food particles along with water, or we can say uncontrolled bowel movement or abnormal defecation of undigested food material is called diarrhea. So in diarrhea what happens is, in diarrhea even dehydration occurs. Dehydration occurs in diarrhea. So dehydration is more water content also comes out along with this diarrhea. That is one of the abnormality. Another one is constipation. Constipation is solid feces which are retained in the rectum. Solid feces which retain in the rectum is called constipation. Constipation occurs because of low water content in the undigested food material. If the undigested food material is having less water content, we can say constipation occurs. Constipation is the undigested waste material or this waste material, excretory waste material will be present inside the rectum in the form of solid waste material without defecating out. It has to be defecated, but it will be present inside because of less water content. And another one also we can say because of less plant fiber, plant material, where mostly plant material will be having more fibers. If the fiber material is less in the food items, so that fiber material we can call as roughages also. Roughage. If the roughages are less in the food material also, constipation occurs. And another one is indigestion. Another one is indigestion. So indigestion, what is indigestion? Digestion of food materials will not occur properly. The food materials which we are consuming, the alimentary canal cannot digest the food materials properly. That kind of symptom is called indigestion. So indigestion occurs because of continuously swallowing the food without chewing. If you are not chewing the food properly, if you are continuously swallowing the food materials, that we can call as indigestion. And another one also is indigestion is eating spicy food. Eating spicy food. Because of eating spicy food also indigestion occurs. Another one also overeating. Overeating, continuously eating the food material also, the digestive system or alimentary canal cannot digest the food. So that also is the one of the cause for the indigestion. So these are the disorders of a digestive system. Now we will see about the micronutrients. The micronutrients. So what are micronutrients, children? Micronutrients, we have seen till now, we have seen about the macronutrients. So micronutrients are nothing but the micronutrients are which micronutrients? Micronutrients. What are micronutrients? Micronutrients are the nutrients which are required for the body or needed for the body in small quantities. Which are needed for the body for a small quantities. Micro means little. Nutrients means the food particles which we are consuming. So small, the micronutrients are the nutrients which are required for the body in small quantities. That nutrients are called micronutrients. So what are the micronutrients which are required for the body? Vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are the micronutrients which are required in small quantities. So what is the main function of micronutrients? Micronutrients protect from health. The nutrients which protect us from health and diseases, or we can say health itself. Disease is nothing but health and diseases are same. So the micronutrients, the main function of micronutrients is they protect us, they protect our health from diseases. So that are micronutrients. Whereas macronutrients we have seen which gives energy, which gives energy, and another one is what which are used for the bodybuilding purpose and which is the reserving the energy in the form of fats. So, but here the micronutrients are the main thing which gives us good health. Now we will see, suppose if these micronutrients are less in our body, what happens? And what are the disorders which occurs because of less micronutrients? Already we have seen, I have said, while we are talking about the macronutrients itself, I have said about two diseases. One is marasmus, another one is kwashiorkor. Marasmus and kwashiorkor are the deficiency disorders which occurs because of macronutrients. Macronutrients is, suppose if you are taking less calories of food materials, then the child suffers from kwashiorkor. If a child is taking less protein diet as well as calorie, that is if the diet is having less protein as well as calorie, the child suffers from a marasmus. Already I have discussed while I was saying about macronutrients in the introduction itself. But now we will see only about micronutrients. First we will see about the vitamins. First one is the vitamins. So the word vitamin was coined by a scientist called Funk. So Funk is the scientist who coined the term vitamins. So vitamins are organic substances which are required by the body to protect our health in a proper way. So these vitamins are of two types. Vitamins are of two types. One is water soluble vitamins, water soluble vitamins, and another one is fat soluble vitamins, water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. What are water soluble vitamins? Vitamin B and vitamin C are water soluble vitamins. Definitely one bit, children. Water soluble vitamins are vitamin B and vitamin C are water soluble vitamins. What are fat soluble vitamins? Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E and K and K. These are the fat soluble vitamins. These are the fat soluble vitamins. This and all is not there in your book, but it's very important. Water soluble are B and C vitamins. Fat soluble vitamins are A, D and K. Now we will see clearly what are vitamins, water soluble vitamins and this one. First one is vitamin B. B vitamin is called vitamin B complex. Vitamin B complex. Why we are calling as vitamin B as vitamin B complex is because vitamin B is a complex of many vitamins. Suppose vitamin B1. Vitamin B1 is called thiamine. Vitamin B1 is called thiamine. If this vitamin B is less, vitamin B is less, then this vitamin we get a disease called beriberi. We called a disease called a beriberi. So vitamin B is less, then the child or the person suffers from beriberi. The next one is B2 vitamin. So B2 vitamin is called riboflavin. Riboflavin. So riboflavin is, if riboflavin, that is vitamin B2 is less in our body, the person suffers from glossitis. A disease called glossitis is a disease. The person suffers if vitamin B2 is less in the body. So riboflavin. Next one is B3. B3 is niacin. Niacin is B3 vitamin. Niacin, if niacin is less, the person suffers from pellagra. The person suffers from a pellagra. Another one is B5. B5 is pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid. So pantothenic acid is B5 vitamin. So this person suffers from burning feet. If this vitamin deficiency, the person suffers from burning feet. Next one is B6. B6 is pyruvic acid. B6 is the pyruvic acid. So pantothenic acid, B6 is pyruvic acid. The person suffers from, that is a dermatitis. Dermatitis. So dermatitis or skin lesions also we can call. Dermatitis or a skin lesion. Next one is B12. B12 is cyanocobalamin. 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 So the first, that is pernicious anemia. Pernicious anemia. So which disease will get pernicious anemia? Pernicious anemia. So these are the B complex vitamins. What is the another water soluble vitamin? The another water soluble vitamin is C vitamin. So what is C vitamin? C vitamin is ascorbic acid, ascorbic acid, which the child suffers from scurvy. Child suffers from scurvy. So these are water soluble vitamins. Now we will see about fat soluble vitamins. What is the first fat soluble vitamin? Vitamin A. Vitamin A. So what is vitamin A? Retinol. Vitamin A is retinol. The person suffers from night blindness. Night blindness. Night blindness and gyrophthalmia. Gyrophthalmia. So the person suffers from a night blindness or a gyrophthalmia. And the next A, D vitamin. So the next vitamin is a D vitamin. D vitamin is calciferol. Calciferol. And here one thing, all the vitamins except vitamin D, we have to consume in the way of food materials. But whereas only the D vitamin is produced or synthesized in the body. So which vitamin is produced in the body? Vitamin D is produced in the body. That is, which part produces vitamin D is skin. Skin produces vitamin D in presence of sunlight. So vitamin D is calciferol. The person that is rickets. The disease when vitamin D deficiency is less, it suffers from rickets. Another one is vitamin E. Vitamin E is tocopherol. Tocopherol. So vitamin D is that is infertility. Infertility, or we can say sterility. So in males and females, if vitamin E is less, infertility, they suffer from infertility. Another one is K. K vitamin is phylloquinone. 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 So that is blood clotting will not occur properly. Blood inability of blood clotting. Inability of blood clotting. So these are the vitamin deficiency diseases. Vitamin deficiency diseases. Once again, see children, vitamins are of two types. One is water soluble, another one is fat soluble. Water soluble is vitamin B and C. Fat soluble is vitamin A, D, and K. Whereas vitamin B we will call as B complex vitamin because many vitamins are together in the B vitamin. If these vitamins are very less, we suffer from different kinds of diseases. What are the deficiencies? And we can see what are the sources of these diseases. Mostly, a common source is present for all these diseases. That is daily drinking milk. Milk is a wholesome food. If you drink daily, most of the vitamin, that is 90% of the vitamin deficiency can be controlled by drinking or consuming milk every day. Next, that is leafy vegetables. Another one is citrus fruits, which is very important for C vitamin. So B complex vitamin, B1 thiamine and beriberi, and B2 riboflavin and glossitis. So these are the diseases which occurs, and this is the name of the vitamin. B3 is niacin, which causes pellagra disease. B5 is pantothenic acid, which causes burning feet. Whereas B6 is pyruvic acid, which causes the dermatitis or skin lesions.